It's one of the most famous defensive coverages in football, but it's also one of the most misunderstood. Today, I'm breaking down everything you need to know about Cover 2, from how it works to why coaches love it, how offenses attack it, and how you can recognize it before the snap. Welcome to Gridiron IQ, where football is explained simply. Whether you're brand new to the game or have watched football for years, this video will help you see Cover 2 in an entirely new way. Before we can understand why coaches call Cover 2, we first need to understand what it actually is. At its core, Cover 2 is a zone defense where the field is split into two deep halves. Each safety is responsible for protecting one half of the field, helping eliminate deep passes over the top. Underneath those safeties, the cornerbacks usually cover the flat areas near the sidelines, while the linebackers drop into the middle of the field to defend short and intermediate routes. Unlike man coverage, defenders aren't following individual receivers. Instead, they're responsible for specific areas or zones on the field. As receivers enter their zone, they cover them. When those receivers leave, they pass them off to another defender. The goal is simple: keep everything in front of the defense, prevent explosive plays, and force the offense to earn every yard instead of scoring with one big throw. Once you understand that basic philosophy, the rest of Cover 2 starts to make a lot more sense. So if Cover 2 gives up short completions, why do so many coaches still rely on it? The answer is simple. Football is often about limiting the biggest threat, not eliminating every gain. Cover 2 is designed to take away explosive plays. Instead of allowing a quarterback to throw a 50-yard touchdown, it encourages shorter throws underneath. Sure, the offense might pick up 5 or 6 yards, but now they have to repeat that success over and over again. And that's exactly what the defense wants. The longer an offense has to drive down the field, the more opportunities there are for something to go wrong. A holding penalty can put them behind the chains. A sack can kill the drive. An incomplete pass can create a difficult third down. Even one mistake can force a punt. That's why coaches often say, make the offense earn it. Cover 2 is built around patience and discipline. It challenges offenses to execute consistently without making mistakes. And at every level of football, from high school to the NFL, that's easier said than done. It's not about making flashy plays every snap. It's about putting the offense in a position where one mistake can end the drive. And over the course of a game, that strategy can make a huge difference. Every defensive coverage has strengths and weaknesses, and Cover 2 has remained popular because its strengths fit what many defenses are trying to accomplish. The biggest strength is its ability to eliminate explosive plays. With two safeties protecting the deep halves of the field, quarterbacks have fewer opportunities to complete deep passes over the top. Cover 2 also forces offenses to be patient. Instead of attacking deep, they're encouraged to throw underneath, where defenders are waiting to make the tackle. That means more plays, longer drives, and more chances for the offense to make a mistake. Another advantage is that the defense keeps everything in front of it. Defensive backs aren't constantly chasing receivers downfield. They're reading the quarterback, reacting to routes, and rallying to the football. Cover 2 can also be especially effective in the red zone. With less field for the offense to work with, those two safeties can help take away many of the deep throws offenses like to use near the goal line. Of course, no coverage is perfect. The same structure that makes Cover 2 so effective also creates a few vulnerable areas on the field, and that's exactly where smart offenses will try to attack. As effective as Cover 2 can be, every defensive coverage has trade-offs, and Cover 2 is no exception. One of its biggest weaknesses is the space between the linebackers underneath and the safeties over the top. Coaches often refer to this area as the honey hole because it's one of the most attractive places for quarterbacks to attack. If a linebacker doesn't get enough depth in his drop, or if a safety is just a little slow getting the ball, that window can open up for a big completion. Offenses also like to attack the middle of the field with crossing routes, deep digs, and post routes. These patterns are designed to stretch the defense and force linebackers and safeties to make difficult decisions in a very short amount of time. That's why communication is so important in Cover 2. Every defender has to understand where the other defenders are and trust them to be in the right position. If one player is out of place, even by a step or two, it can create a huge opportunity for the offense. But here's the important thing to remember. Having a weakness doesn't make a defense bad. Every coverage in football has areas an offense is trying to exploit. The goal isn't to be perfect. It's to make the offense execute perfectly for an entire drive. And now that we know where cover 2 is vulnerable, let's look at the specific route concepts offenses use to attack those weak spots. Once an offense understands where cover 2 is vulnerable, the next step is designing plays that attack those areas. One of the most common concepts is the corner route. The receiver pushes vertically before breaking toward the sideline, aiming for the space between the cornerback underneath and the safety over the top. If the quarterback throws the ball on time, it can be extremely difficult to defend. Another popular strategy is the flood concept. This overloads one side of the field by sending multiple receivers to different depths, forcing defenders to choose which route to cover, and often leaving someone open. Offenses also like to use deep post routes and crossing routes to attack the middle of the field. These routes put pressure on the linebackers and safeties, making them communicate and react quickly. If just one defender hesitates or takes a bad angle, it can lead to a big gain. But here's the key. These plays only work when the quarterback is decisive. Against cover 2, timing is everything. A throw that's made on schedule can result in a huge completion. A throw that's even a second late gives the safeties time to recover and make a play on the football. That's why coaches spend so much time practicing these route concepts. Beating cover 2 isn't about tricking the defense. It's about executing with precision. So how can you tell if a defense is playing cover 2 before the ball is even snapped? The first thing to look for is the safeties. In a traditional cover 2 look, you'll usually see 2 safeties lined up deep, each responsible for one half the field. If both safeties are about 10 to 15 yards off the line of scrimmage and evenly spaced, cover 2 is definitely a possibility. Next, watch the cornerbacks. Instead of lining up several yards off the receiver like they might in cover 3, cover 2 corners often play much closer to the line of scrimmage. That's because their primary job is to defend the flat rather than carry receivers deep down the field. But here's the catch. Defenses know offenses are looking for these clues. Many teams will line up showing cover 2 before the snap, then rotate into a completely different coverage once the ball is snapped. Others might disguise cover 3 or cover 1 by making them look like cover 2 until the very last second. That's why identifying coverage isn't about spotting one clue. It's about putting several clues together. The safeties, the cornerbacks, and what happens immediately after the snap all help reveal what the defense is actually trying to do. Once you start watching for those details, you'll begin seeing cover 2 and its disguises every weekend. It can completely change the way you watch football. If you watched NFL football for any length of time, you probably heard the term Tampa 2. While it's based on cover 2, there's one key difference that changes how the defense works. In a traditional cover 2, the middle linebacker is responsible for the short middle of the field. But in Tampa 2, that linebacker drops much deeper after the snap, almost like a third safety. By doing that, the defense closes one of cover 2's biggest weaknesses, the deep middle of the field. Instead of leaving that area vulnerable to deep crossing routes or seam routes, the linebacker helps take those throws away. Of course, asking a linebacker to cover that much ground isn't easy. He has to be athletic enough to turn, run, and read the quarterback while still reacting to anything happening underneath. That's why not every defense can successfully run Tampa 2. The scheme became famous in the late 1990s and early 2000s with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, whose speed and discipline made it one of the NFL's most feared defenses. Their success was so closely tied to the scheme that the variation eventually became known simply as Tampa 2. While today's defenses have evolved and borrowed concepts from countless schemes, you'll still see Tampa 2 principles show up across football whenever a defense wants to protect the deep middle without abandoning the strengths of cover 2. By now, you probably have a much better understanding of cover 2, but there are still a few common misconceptions worth clearing up. The first is that cover 2 is a prevent defense. It's not. While the coverage is designed to limit deep passes, it's still an aggressive scheme. Cornerbacks often play close to the line of scrimmage. Linebackers attack underneath routes, and defenses can still bring pressure with blitzes. Another misconception is that seeing two deep safeties automatically means the defense is playing cover two. That's simply not true. Defenses frequently disguise their coverages before the snap. Those same two safeties could rotate into cover three, cover four, or even a man coverage once the ball is snapped. Finally, some fans think cover two is outdated because offenses throw the ball so well today. In reality, the opposite is true. Modern defenses still use cover two concepts every week. They just adapted them with different disguises, personnel, and adjustments to match today's offenses. The biggest lesson is this. Football isn't about finding one perfect defense. It's about choosing the right coverage for the situation and executing it well. Cover two has stood the test of time because, when it's played correctly, it still forces offenses to earn every yard. And that's exactly why it's remained one of the foundational coverages in football for decades. Now, let's put everything together. The next time you're watching a football game, don't just follow the ball. Take a quick look at the defense before the snap. Are there two safeties lined up deep? Are the cornerbacks playing closer to the line of scrimmage? If so, there's a good chance cover two, or at least a look of cover two, is coming. Once the ball is snapped, watch how those defenders move. Do the safeties each stay responsible for one half of the field? Do the cornerbacks settle into the flats? Do the linebackers drop into their zones? Those are all clues that you're seeing cover two in action. Then shift your attention to the offense. Notice where the quarterback wants to throw the football. Is he attacking the sideline between the cornerback and the safety? Is he targeting the middle of the field with crossing routes or seam routes? Chances are he's trying to exploit the exact weaknesses we've talked about throughout this video. The more you watch football through this lens, the more you'll realize there's a chess match happening on every single play. Every formation, every motion, every route, and every coverage is part of a larger strategy. And once you start recognizing those patterns, you'll never watch football the same way again. Cover may second seem simple on the surface, but as you've seen, there's a lot more happening than just two safeties splitting the field. It's a coverage built on discipline, communication, and forcing offenses to be patient. While it has its weaknesses, it has remained one of football's foundational defensive concepts because, when executed well, it makes life incredibly difficult for an offense. The next time you're watching a game, challenge yourself to identify cover two before the snap and see if you can recognize how the offense tries to attack it. The more you practice, the easier it becomes, and the more you'll appreciate the strategy behind every play. If you enjoyed this breakdown and want to learn more about football strategy, be sure to like the video, subscribe to Gridiron IQ, and let me know in the comments what coverage or concept you'd like to see explained next. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.